Hey, Leslie, how are you?
Good, good.
Um, I wanted to start with Levi Wallace, and we've talked about this many times about whoever plays opposite Tre'Davious White, they're going to get a lot of the work, and sometimes it could look a lot worse than maybe it really is. After you go back and watch the film yesterday, he was involved in a lot of plays on his side of the field. How did he play, and did he struggle at all?
Yeah, you're right. Whoever's opposite Tre'Davious, that's probably the guy that's going to get the work for sure. That's been the case probably throughout his time in the league, especially once he began to establish himself. And so in Levi's case, yesterday there were definitely some plays out there that he'd like to have back. There were some moments where would have liked to seen him be able to get his hands on some of those balls. It didn't happen. There were some other times where he was in position and was able to help us in making some tackles. But it did seem as if they were really targeting, in his case, the guy that was away from Tre'Davious. And when that happens, you just got to find a way to make some plays to get them to start throwing somewhere else. And yesterday that didn't happen. He didn't make enough plays to get them to change their plan.
And on the defensive line, we've been talking about AJ Epinesa the last couple of weeks, and I thought he played well, but Darrell Johnson, you really see him pop on special teams recently, and then he comes in and makes a big splash play, seems to be gaining some traction as well. How impressed have you been with the way that he's kind of stayed on task and improved throughout the course of the season?
Yeah, you bring up one of his strengths, what he's done for us on special teams. Heath Farwell talks a great deal about his contribution as a special teams player, and he's definitely helped us on defense in the last few weeks, stepping up and making some big plays for us. I think back to the sack he had against the Raiders. That was a huge play in that game, and the splash play yesterday to get that TFL that helped us to force a field goal in plus territory. So Darrell has really begun to step up, and Eric Washington has increased his reps because of that, both he and AJ, and he's taking advantage of it.
And if I could squeeze one more in, I usually like to keep it to two, but Harrison Phillips, I feel like this year was always going to be a year where it was going to take a while for him to get back to where he kind of left off. And I thought I saw this last night, him really start to look like a little bit like his old self. Am I right there?
Yeah, actually, man, I thought that was the case when he played against New England. I thought he made a good contribution in that ball game and looked more and more like the Harry that we remembered, and he's continued to progress over the last few weeks. So, he's starting to get his legs back for sure from a game standpoint, and we all knew coming off the type of injury that he had, it would take some time. And, it's great to see the progress that's being made.
Thanks, Leslie. Appreciate it.
Yes, good afternoon, Coach Leslie Frazier, George Radney, Challenger Community News. How are you doing this afternoon?
I'm well, George. How are you?
Pretty good. Question for this week is, with the San Francisco 49er, Kyle Shanahan, I noticed he look like similar to what his dad used to run, that kind of zone blocking with the offensive linemen. And you guys did an outstanding job. Was that the key to having your guys slide in between the guard and tackles to slide into that gap? Because Vernon Butler seemed like he really was doing an outstanding job of that last night.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the strategies that we wanted to be able to use. I mean, it's always about stopping the run with that style of offense. And the 49ers do a great job of running the football, and you want to get them into a drop-back game. And I'm glad you mentioned Vernon Butler because he really stepped up and made some good plays for us. We've been challenging him over the last few weeks to be more violent in his play and use his hands, separate, make some plays for us. And he did it last night, so that was great to see. And hopefully we can build on that. But it was great to see him stand up and make those plays.
Is it tough to slide in between the guard and tackle? Because I'm surprised that more teams don't do that, where the guy just kind of just slides in there. As soon as they hike the ball, you just go for that open space and against that type of zone blocking scheme.
Yeah, every team has their own strategy of how they do things, and we try to have a wrinkle here or there from week to week, and every team has their way of doing things.
All right. Thanks a lot, Coach. Have a great week.
All right. Thank you.
Hey, Leslie, Mike Catalana in Rochester. From the outside, it looks like Mike Tomlin had been trying to get the attention of his team, though they kept winning, from your experience in the league as a head coach, coordinator, player, is it easier to get your team's attention after a loss? And do you see the difference in an opponent coming off a loss, especially like a Steelers team that was undefeated coming into the game?
Yeah, Mike, it's similar to life. Sometimes when you face a little adversity, it can kind of bring you back to center. And that definitely happens in our league for sure. Witness it as a player and as a coach as well. Sometimes you need a little adversity to kind of make you realize that you're not infallible. And I'm sure Michael used last night's loss as a way to get the players' attention. And we'll have to make sure that we come on the field with our A game, because they're going to be fired up to not, allow it to be a 2-game losing streak.
Great. Thank you.
Well,
hey, Leslie, it's John Scott. Matt Milano obviously returns, and it appeared he was on a pitch count of sorts again. How are you going to continue to evolve that? And I know you discussed you needed to see how he could play with the shoulder and where things were at. What did you see in that regard?
John, it was great to have him back on the field. And I thought we saw flashes of the Matt that we remember. The quarterback hit he had on the one pressure where we brought him. I mean, that was vintage Matt. I mean, they had a guard blocking a linebacker, and he just runs right through the guard and hits the quarterback. And I mean, that's what he brings to our defense. So I thought overall he did a good job with the limited snaps that we gave him, enough to where, we can look to maybe increase that as based on how he practices this week and if he has any soreness when we get back in the building tomorrow. But he did enough to let us know that he seems to be putting that injury behind him, and we'll see how he progresses as the week goes on.
In a similar light of rotating and switching guys in and out, you did that with Levi and Kevin Johnson on the back end of last year. Is there pros and cons to potentially looking to do that with Levi and maybe Josh Norman moving down the stretch here? Does it affect the way you call the game with a rotation at a position like that?
You hope it doesn't. You hope there isn't a big drop off in either player if you do something like that. Because in my mind, I can't really be thinking about who's on the field and who's not on the field. We have those discussions, believe me, with the coaching staff. But it's something we've done in the past, and it's helped us. And we'll explore all options as we continue to try to improve as a defense and as a team.
Thanks, Leslie.
You're welcome.
Hey, Leslie, just wondering if you've gotten a chance to look at any Steelers film yet. I know the last 2 games they've struggled a little bit offensively, but have been pretty explosive on offense this season. They have 4 players who have over 500 yards receiving or rushing. So they like to spread the ball out. So how do you see your defense being able to, just limit the amount of weapons they have on offense?
Yeah, man, we're just beginning to get into them a little bit. And you're right. They're very explosive on offense, got a Hall of Fame quarterback, and he's got some weapons at wide receiver. And now that they'll get James Conner back, they have a chance to be a little bit more balanced with the run game. So it's an offense that's very capable of exploding, and we'll have to do a great job of trying to limit their explosive plays and find ways to contain their passing game. But they're an offense that can really get going if you're not careful.
Thanks, Leslie.
You're welcome.
Hi, Leslie. It's Kim Jones from NFL Network. What do you make of the Edmonds family, who I understand that I believe one of Tremaine's brothers is back on the practice squad, but that doesn't bother me at all. I mean, 3 players in this game, brothers who have achieved what they have and gotten to this league. What do you make of that family?
It's incredible when you think about it, and the fact that I think they had 2 number 1 picks out of that family as well. So, and then their dad being an athlete, the mom being an athlete, it's just it got to be incredible for the parents to have 3 NFL players at the same time. So it says a lot about genes and DNA, and also when you get to know Tremaine like we have, his character, his makeup, just tells you the type of parents and the way he was brought up. Just a tremendous player, but a great person as well. That's not always the case with star players. And so kudos to his parents and what they've been able to accomplish with their their sons, and in our case, knowing Tremaine.
And I wanted to ask you, Leslie, at the end of the year, the numbers ranking wise won't be where your defense wants them and traditionally has been. They just won't. But where have you seen your defense improve? I know where I've seen it, but you're the expert, and I'm just curious what you would point out as maybe 1, 2 in terms of where they've improved the most.
Probably over the last 5, 6 weeks, just seeing how much better we're playing from an aggressive attacking standpoint, and the way we're taking the football away, Kim, that stands out. I mean, that's how you win games. We've improved so much in third down, red zone. We're doing some things that affect the game and gives you a chance to win. And you're right. Statistically, the yards are not going to show that. I mean, they got so many junk yards yesterday in the fourth quarter late. And they hit some third downs late in the game as well. So you may not have the statistical numbers to show that you're helping the team win, but it's evidenced by the way the guys are playing, for sure. They're playing very good football at this point that helps our team to be in a position to win games.
And probably not a coincidence, Leslie, that Tremaine got healthier during that stretch. And in my opinion, Tre'Davious looks a lot more like Tre'Davious now as well, correct? Those two, I mean, that's big.
Yeah, it sounded like you were sitting in our staff meeting, because that's what we talked about just a few weeks ago, the health of Tremaine and then Tre'Davious being Tre'Davious. We saw it, and it's really helped our defense to take some steps forward at a crucial time of the year. So yes, the combination of those two has definitely helped us, for sure.
Thanks as always. Thank you.
You're welcome.